A drink with friends, a peg after a long day. For most of the world, the most ordinary thing there is. So here's an honest question. When does drinking stop being just a habit and quietly start becoming a problem? Most people picture a drinking problem as someone who has clearly lost control. But far more often, the harm builds quietly, long before anything feels wrong, as repeated drinking changes the brain systems involved in reward and stress. Alcohol and your bodies. What it costs your health and when your body starts to need it. It often looks completely normal, the dependable one, the life of the party, the person who never misses a day of work, who just unwinds every evening. Here's what's easy to miss. Most people in India don't drink at all. But among those who do, many drink more heavily than they realize. Because hidden inside that one question, is this a problem, are really two. How much is it quietly costing my body? And is my body starting to need it? For a long time, we've sorted people into two boxes, the social drinker and the alcoholic. But that line doesn't really exist. Drinking becoming a problem isn't a cliff you fall off one day. It's a slope and you can be anywhere on it. This isn't about willpower and it isn't about character. It's about two dials that move quietly on their own. How much the drinking is costing your body and how much your body has started to need it. Understand those two and the whole thing stops being about blame and starts being something you can actually see. So what is alcohol actually doing? Think of your nervous system as a car. Alcohol works like the brakes, it slows everything down. That's the relaxed, loosened feeling. But your brain likes balance. So if the brakes are pressed every night, it quietly presses its own accelerator to compensate, turning up its natural stimulation to stay level. Now two things follow. You need more alcohol for the same effect, that's tolerance. And your brain has rebuilt itself around the alcohol being there, that's dependence. The body starting to need it just to feel normal. And alcohol doesn't only touch the brain. Over time it reaches the liver, blood pressure, the heart's rhythm, memory, the gut, and even sleep. It can knock you out, yes, but it wrecks the deep, restoring kind, which is why the nightcap leaves you more tired, not less. Now the biggest myth, the one almost everyone has heard. The little is fine. A glass of red is even good for the heart. For years the studies seemed to agree. But there was a hidden flaw. Many of those studies counted people who had already quit drinking, often because they'd become ill, as if they were lifelong non-drinkers. That made non-drinkers look sicker and made moderate drinkers look protected. Correct that error and the supposed benefit largely disappears. To be completely fair, some observational studies in older adults still report a small association with lower cardiovascular risk. But that does not prove alcohol is protective, and any possible benefit must be weighed against cancer and injury risk. So the honest verdict isn't good for you or bad for you, it's this: no net benefit and no safe level when it comes to cancer. In 2023, the World Health Organization put it plainly: when it comes to alcohol, there is no completely safe level for your health. Alcohol is a proven cause of at least 7 cancers, the same certainty of evidence as tobacco, even if not the same size of risk. The honest takeaway isn't fear. It's simply this: less is better and none is safest, and no amount is a health tonic. So why do some people slide down that slope faster than others? Genes load the dice, a family history matters. So does starting young, drinking daily rather than occasionally, and drinking in heavy bursts. And very often, alcohol is quietly doing a job, numbing stress, anxiety, or low mood. If you've watched our episodes on anxiety and depression, you'll recognize this. It can feel like relief for one evening, but it works against you. The numbed feeling comes back louder, and the drinking slowly deepens the very thing it was trying to soothe. None of that is a character flaw. It's biology and circumstance, and knowing your own risks is how you stay ahead of them. There's a particular shape to this in many Indian homes. When a man drinks, it's often seen as completely normal, a peg with friends, a way to relax, to belong. When anyone else does, it's hidden and heavy with shame. He only drinks socially, he never misses work, so it's fine. Meanwhile, the harm builds silently and no one says a word because what will people think? And here's a number worth sitting with. Of the people in India living with alcohol dependence, around 8 in 10 never receive any help at all. Not because help doesn't work, but because stigma keeps them silent. Which means the single biggest thing standing between people and getting better is that we don't talk about it. This is the trap we test for a problem with the wrong question. Does he hold down a job, but holding a job was never the test? A person can tick every box of a real drinking problem and still perform beautifully at work. The truer test is those same two questions. How much is it costing me, and is my body starting to need it? And alcohol is a master of disguise. The drink that calms your nerves tonight can raise your anxiety tomorrow. The nightcap that helps you sleep is stealing the deep sleep you actually need. Low mood, restless sleep, rising blood pressure, all of it gets blamed on everything except the glass. Part of a doctor's job is simply to untangle what's the alcohol and what isn't. So how do you actually know? There's no single blood test that says yes, this is a problem. It's the whole picture, those two questions honestly answered. Are you drinking more or longer than you meant to? Trying to cut down and finding you can't? Is it costing you sleep, mood, relationships, health, and you keep going anyway? A few honest questions like these aren't a diagnosis. They're just a nudge, a reason to talk to someone. And if you said yes to several, especially if you're also drinking daily, the next part matters most for you. There is one thing here that can genuinely save a life, so please hear it clearly. This matters for one specific group. People who drink heavily, nearly every single day, the kind of drinking where you feel shaky, sweaty, or sick in the morning until you've had a drink. If that's not you, if you drink lightly or socially, then cutting down is simply safe and good for you, and this warning isn't about you. But if that morning feeling is familiar, your body has likely come to physically need alcohol, what we called dependence earlier. And for that group, stopping suddenly, all at once and completely on your own can be dangerous. The body that adapted can swing the other way, bad shakes and in rare cases, seizures. This is not a reason to keep drinking. It's the opposite. It's a reason to stop with a little medical help, because a doctor can make stopping both safe and far more comfortable. So please don't white-knuckle it alone. Talk to your doctor or a clinic that helps people stop drinking, a de-addiction service, and let them plan it with you. And if someone does stop suddenly and then starts shaking badly, becomes confused, or has a fit, that's an emergency. Get medical help straight away, the same as you would for a heart problem. So who should reach out? Anyone for whom this quietly rings true, or anyone worried about someone they love. You don't have to wait for a crisis, and you don't have to have hit rock bottom. Reaching out early isn't weakness. It's the strongest, most self-respecting thing you can do. And your first door can simply be your family doctor, not only a specialist or a de-addiction center. One more thing that matters. In pregnancy, there is no known safe amount of alcohol at any stage. There, the safest choice is simply none. None of this is here to shame anyone or to frighten you off one glass of wine at a wedding. It's here to hand you the map, so whatever you choose, you're choosing with your eyes open. That's the whole idea. And because it's a slope, not a cliff, here's the hopeful part. You can move back down it. From any point. You don't have to reach some dramatic bottom before change counts. Cutting back matters. Stopping matters. Recovery is real and far more common than the silence around this would ever suggest. Many people improve with treatment and support, and recovery is possible. And if you slip along the way, that isn't failure. For a condition like this, a slip is simply information, a sign to adjust the plan, not to give up on yourself. If you want to start today, small, concrete steps work. Alcohol-free days kept honestly. Slower, smaller pours, not reaching for drink to cope with a hard feeling and finding another way to meet it, protecting your sleep, and gently facing the why underneath the drinking. And here's the encouraging parts. In the early stages, before any lasting scarring sets in, the liver has a strong capacity to recover when alcohol use is safely reduced or stopped, often beginning within weeks and continuing over months. Blood pressure eases. Sleep deepens. But damage that has already hardened into scarring doesn't fully reverse, which is exactly why starting sooner is far better than later. And when willpower alone isn't enough, remember, dependence works on the very part of the brain we lean on for willpower, which is exactly why help works better than willpower alone. There is real, effective help, and none of it is anything to fear. Talking therapies like counseling and CBT, a practical talk therapy that helps you understand and change the patterns. If your body is dependent, a doctor can guide you through stopping safely. There are also prescription medicines that can reduce the craving itself, or blunt alcohol's pull, different from an older medicine that works by making you feel unwell if you drink. All of them are chosen and monitored with your doctor, and how well they work varies from person to person. None of them are happy pills. And there are support groups, where you sit among people who understand and no one judges. Treatment helps, although results vary from person to person. And choosing to do it with help isn't the weak option, it's the wise one. So if you take one thing from today, let it be this. The honest question was never, am I an alcoholic? It's gentler and far more useful. How much is this costing me, and is my body starting to need it? Ask it kindly. Of yourself or of someone you love. Watch the two signs the body is changing, needing more for the same effect, tolerance, and needing a drink just to feel normal, dependence. If you drink heavily every day and feel shaky or sick in the mornings until you drink, don't stop suddenly on your own. That withdrawal can be dangerous. A doctor can make stopping safe. Act sooner rather than later. Some alcohol-related harm improves after drinking is reduced or stopped. Treatment helps and professional support makes recovery safer and more achievable. And if drinking has become tangled up with despair, or with moments when you feel you might not want to be here, please know this can get better, and you don't have to sort it out alone. Talking to someone helps. In India, you can call Tele-MANAS free, anytime, day or night, that's 14416, and a trained counselor will listen. You are not a burden, and you are not beyond help. A gentle reminder, this video is for understanding, not medical advice, and it can't replace your own doctor who knows your history. That's especially true here. If you drink heavily and want to stop, please speak to a doctor before stopping so you can do it safely. And if you or someone you love is struggling with alcohol or with darker thoughts, help is real and it works. Reach out today. In India, Tele-MANAS is free and open around the clock, 14416. We make health make sense.